Good evening, and welcome to the premiere streaming of For Women across our digital collaboration with the Untold Orchestra and some of Manchester's fiercest and finest women. Thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you for those that purchased tickets, and welcome to all of y'all from the Manchester postcodes. I was going to go through them all, but I can't remember them all. Welcome. We're so glad to have you with us. We hope you enjoy this. Enjoy. The Untold Orchestra presents For Women.
Skin is black, my arms are long, my hair is woolly, my back is strong. Strong enough to take the pain. Again and again. What do they call me? My name is Aunt Sarah. My name is Aunt Sarah, Aunt Sarah. My skin is yellow, my hair is long, between two worlds I do belong. My father was rich and white. He forced my mother late one night. What do they call me? My name is Saffronia. Saffronia. My skin is tan, my hair is fine, my hips invite you, my mouth like wine. This little girl of mine, anyone who has money to buy. What do they call me? My name is Sweet Thing. is brown. My manner is tough. I'll kill the first mother I see. My life has been rough. I'm awfully bitter these days, because my parents were slaves. What do they call me? My name is Peaches.
I am who I am, and I will go where I must. My mother taught me to stand, even if the whip knew my back. I be a lake of fire and protest. I will not live in a place of undoing. I am more than this tough. My belly is full of new life growing. I will make my stance at the river. You will try to kill me. You want to take what's mine. I do not surrender to your winter. You will and must surrender to mine. Like the storms of this life, I was born to overstand. Spring is with me in these turbulent times. I have known your loving. It hangs off me like good Sunday clothes. River me long, river me, river me. I will feed you the water of life, river me, and you will drink and die from the loving in my arms, river me. Watch me run down your whole body. You will be made clean in this my knowing. I was yours as the day is long and the night calls out. River me long, river me. We were born of hard ground. We are solidified in this magic that is the strength given by the river. And as it runs, so I run to you, not from you. It's a part of this thing. It's a part of this love thing. There is no pain I will not bear to make you my lake. You are the great Nile and Zambezi, and I bathe in you. Hold me like I would be lost. Don't let me seep through your hands. All of me is with you. Although the storm clouds gather, move towards me, this thing that binds us as we come together. River me from bitter days, river me from the tough, river me from the awful bitter I taste, river me from this. Love made me a slave, river me, river me, river me, river me, river me. My name is Peaches, river me.
Can we get a round of applause, please, for that stunning piece of work? Come on! Welcome back to the Yard this evening. None of us here have seen that before, but Sam Davies, the director of the Untold Orchestra. That was the first time that everybody, including myself and all the performers, have seen all those 4 pieces of work. And that just honestly blew me away. I'm joined this evening by our 4 women, or it's 5 women actually.
Yeah. Yes.
Shirley May is in the background because she's too good for this. So I'd like to go around the group and introduce our fantastic performers. You have just seen the Untold Orchestra present 4 women, and those 4 women that interpreted that beautiful piece. Seren, Marimba, how you doing this evening?
I'm good, thank you very much.
DJ Paulette?
Yes. Wow. What was that like?
That
it
was
mind blowing.
Considering
Really?
I've only seen Paulette dance behind a DJ booth, that was truly stunning. Is that what goes on when you disappear? Amazing. Yeah. Maisha, welcome this evening.
It's great to be here.
And Yemi Bolatiwa.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Right, yeah, good, thanks.
Let's start with you, because you kind of started off this relationship with Nina Simone and the Untold Orchestra.
Yeah, it was honestly like, I can't say how much of a privilege, honor, and like surprise it has been this last couple of years to be taking on this kind of role of reinterpreting, because it's not a tribute to, or it's not trying to be Nina Simone, but reinterpreting Nina Simone's music with the Untold Orchestra. It's been an amazing journey, and this is like one of the most unique, probably the best pieces of art I've ever done and been part of. So it's just, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. It's great. Thank you.
It was totally, I would agree with that. It is one of the, not to say that anything else the Untold Orchestra has done isn't good. I mean, a couple of things, it's fantastic. But this really was like heads and shoulders above. Now, The Four Women is one of Nina Simone's, not, I wouldn't say controversial, but definitely feminist and civil rights protest themed song. It was actually banned by some black radio stations when it was first released in 1966. And that's because the four stereotypical black women characters, some people found offensive. They were kind of saying, you know, you shouldn't be saying Aunt Sarah, you shouldn't be saying these things about these women. But what Nina Simone was doing was defining, taking ownership of what other people called women and presenting it to the world. Absolutely stunning pieces of work. I also want to say that the classical music that was included in the pieces today were all made by black composers, and I'm definitely going to be checking out some of those pieces because it was stunning. That last piece, Baisha, you couldn't stop moving to that
Could
last
not stop moving. Found it very hard to stay sat in my chair.
I want to start off with, how did you all come to take your pieces and interpret them like that? If we go around the circle, Seren, you were Sophronia.
I was. So I was really struck by the line between two worlds, and as a mixed race person, I took that. I took on the idea of duality, and I wanted to play with the duality of being black and white, but also classical and contemporary, and also the kind of gutsy emotional reaction versus a kind of rational cerebral reaction, and play between that, and also play on the spectrum. So where do I sit between black and white, and where do I sit on and play with the tension in that. So that's what
was it because you're a contemporary circus performer, so there's a lot of different skills you could have brought to this piece. You used, I don't know what they're called, silks, ropes,
bungees.
A bungee. Okay, there we go. Neither of the ones I said. Is that what kind of gave you is that what kind of inspired the bungee, because of that dipping in, that dipping out, that kind of
kind of. I'm injured, so I couldn't do rope. But it actually ended up working out better, and I'm really glad that I didn't, because it kind of sat really well on that kind of pulling and tension and like just being drawn back. Like you can't, Sam will laugh because they had to help me on a chair, and you kind of stuck and you're like put into this harness and you can't move the way you want to move, and you keep trying to go somewhere, but you're stuck in this label or this harness, and you can't. So it lent very well, I think.
I've been watching it. That's exactly what I got. Seeing it for the first time, it's almost like those two worlds, you know, society going, well, you should act like this because you're white, or you should act like this because you're black. And I think that was so prevalent watching it, and how tiring it is to fit into those two things.
When watching it, I thought I look absolutely exhausted, but it's exhausting. Like, it is exhausting. So I think my tiredness fit well with the character.
It really did. I want to ask, did you get to choose the music for your piece as well?
Yeah, so it was amazing, actually. They said, have you got any ideas? And I was like, something that kind of, you know, is classical and kind of symbolizes the white rich man, but then also something that's got a bluesy feel. And then that piece of music was literally just that. I don't know how we found it. It's exactly what I imagined in my head.
It's just stunning, really stunning. Kicking us off this evening, it was Paula.
Yeah.
First of all, I completely didn't know what to expect, so that was such a strong piece for me to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it coming to that piece was a journey in itself anyway, because there was that issue, first of all, of how is a DJ or anything to do with DJing going to fit in the wider story of one Nina Simone, to, the singing and the very beautiful presentation of it, and then this very jarring 2021, how is it even going to fit in? And, we kind of toyed around with ideas of, are you going to be with the decks in the middle of the octet? And it's like, no, that's really not going to work. It's just really not going to work. And then there was the issue with the music, because I knew that the other ladies had more classical pieces of music, and we thought, and we bounced ideas around between the three of us, me, Sam, and then I had a recollection of being sent Aphrodisia's album, Break Not Make. And I'd been listening to that album anyway, and I really felt that her music was very like Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, very soundtracky. And I said, well, how about, and I suggested 3 tracks. We listened to it and we decided on one, and then we had to speak to Henrietta and see if she was all right with us transcribing her music and using it for this piece. So I just saw that she is very much the 2021 classical composer. Mm-hmm. Her music just fits straight into that. And then to hear the transcription, to hear how the octet performed it. The first day I was listening to them, I was nearly crying. It was just like, oh my God, this is just so beautiful.
It's so exciting to know that you got another
black
woman into
from
for your
2021.
Well.
That was Aphrodisia,
and that in itself is very much the DJ element that you brought to it.
That
you
was
kind
everything.
of in your head, you're like, right, well, if I was mixing, what would I mix? It's like, oh, Aphrodisia.
Yeah.
And what does she think of the music?
She was
when
there at some of the rehearsals, and it was just the most massive buzz. You can see by the look on my face. It's just such a great experience. And then it was like, so we've got the piece of music, what are you going to do to it? And I thought, well, I'm not going to stand on a podium raving to it. So, what am I going to do? And I just totally busked it. Like, it was like turned up, and I said, I'm just going to feel this. I just don't really know how this is going to turn out. And that's what came. I just sort of felt the music and felt the words, and this blooming of this strong black woman who isn't really, as much as we say, strong black woman, you can take everything, your skin is, your hair is, and everything. But there are moments when you are totally down, and there are moments where you're pulled and pushed and torn and, turning round in circles, and then composure and straight, and I'm back in the game. And that was what I tried to represent.
It's definitely what I got from it, watching it. It was a really strong piece, especially to start off, because I think, obviously, in that verse, you have one of the phrases that got it banned off the radio, Aunt Sarah, as an offensive stereotype of a black
Absolutely.
woman.
But that, in 2021, we still get it, I will go to the doctors, or I will go to, wherever, therapist, and I'll hear, you're a strong black woman, you're resilient. And I'm like, I'm still getting this in 2021. So whatever the stereotype was in the 1960, we're still here.
Mm-hmm. It's still happening.
It's still here.
Change your stereotypes, people, please. Loads more examples of black women. Maisha,
hey.
Sweet thing.
Hey,
oh, sweet thing.
Yeah.
Tell us about your piece. I loved your movement in that piece. It was very sassy. Mm-hmm. There was, and I know that's a word that people love using about black women, but I really felt the character. Mm-hmm. It was almost like, tell us about it.
So a lot of the movement came from sort of conversations, or the ideas for the movement came from conversations we had in sort of early Zoom calls about who's going to be what character, how we're going to interpret the words of the verses or the sounds of the verses and stuff. And a few things that stuck with me. One is like that these are archetypes. These are women throughout time. So it's not one particular era that we're looking at. This is something that's been happening since migration has been happening in a way. So I didn't want to really set it in one era. And then as well as that, it was this idea that, Sweet Thing is not a real name. It's something that somebody's put on somebody else. And I feel like my whole piece is almost like a reaction to being forced to be something that I'm not in order to survive. So it's really about, I'm having to do these things. If you pay me, I will behave a certain way, but that's got nothing to do with my innate behaviors or my innate feelings or my soul or character at all. So it's really about a sort of fiery aggression in opposition to that. And then maybe sometimes the violence of racism or the violence that can be incurred by like sex workers and stuff like that as well. But then also there is a genuine sensuality and a genuine naughtiness that we should all be allowed to feel and use and, play with. So those were the things that sort of really influenced me, and I sort of made it in chunks. So I was like, right, okay, I need to have like a chunk that's more submissive or lower to the ground, and then I need to have something that's a reaction to that and a fighting off of that to try and peel away the layers to see where the real person is, the real woman that's underneath Sweet Thing, to try and figure out who she would be if she didn't have to live within subjugation.
That's fascinating, man, because like, watching it, you kind of go, yeah, you look tired, you look like completely owning it. Now it looks like you just, it was really, really amazing and such a great interpretation.
Thank you.
You mentioned Zoom calls. What's the Zoom calls? What was going on?
So it was just at the beginning, who's going to be what character, early planning stages, basically. Who suits what role best? How are we going to work with it? And so, yeah, it was just in the early planning stages, some organisational bits and bobs.
So how long was this in the making? How long were you all working on this to lead up to your recordings and this performance this evening?
Was it a month? I think it was a month. I'm going to say a month unless somebody wants to object.
Any objections?
Probably it's about a month. Yeah.
It's a phenomenal amount
Yeah,
of work in a
I'd
month.
say a
And
month.
like kudos to the chamber players as well. Is that
Yes.
what we call them? I don't
Yeah.
The classical musicians. That was
Yeah, man, you guys
fantastic.
were
Really
amazing.
good. Not on the mic, but in the room, Shirley May played Peaches.
She's
how you
coming through.
doing? Oh,
Yeah, come through.
you're gonna
Come through.
Fantastic. Please welcome Shirley May.
Come through.
How you doing, Shirley?
Wait, do you want to sit here?
An absolutely
Use the microphone.
strength performance at the end. You wrote that poem inspired by the last verse, or tell us about your interpretation
Hang on
as much as you can.
Nice work.
Well, I have to thank the beautiful young woman in the middle for planting a seed in my head. And she said, why don't you do it from a juxtaposition rather than go through making this woman strong? What was she like before she was bitter? What was she like before, life felt so terrible? And I really, really appreciate that you planted that. And so
My
that
pleasure.
became, how do I write this from just before bitter? And it's often for me, it's about love and about connection. And water for me is very spiritual. So the reference to water is about all of us being cleansed and cleaned. And I felt that I've really got a bad throat. I've had a little bit of a thing going on today. But I wanted to tell a different story about how black women are loved and are admired, and that their bodies are more than overstanding, even though I use that in there, because we are told all the time by our mothers that we cannot give in and we must stand. And one of the things that my mother would say to me, because I'm from the Caribbean, is that we survived this. And so we've got to continue to survive it, even though, there are times that we are broken. At the moment, I feel a little bit broken, but it was really important to work with all of these women and to be in the Zoom calls and to just be encouraged to write this, and yeah, I feel really blessed and honored to be amongst such amazing, amazing artists. I'm going to stop speaking because it hurts.
Thank you so much, Shirley. I just have to say, my new lyric is going to be "River Me, baby." River me. I love that.
River me.
I really love that. It's powerful. I like the idea of looking before the bitterness, of taking, and everyone's done something different with their pieces, which is what made it such a great piece of work. But I love that idea of looking before. It's if we're looking before, let's have a look after.
Yeah.
Where are we now as all those archetypes, those stereotypes as Black women? You know, we've had a crazy 12 months, ladies.
Yeah.
You know? Was there anything from the past 12 months that was brought up during the Zoom calls when you were doing your interpretations, when you were talking? Are there any particular points that are relevant both to when this song came out and now?
Yeah, for me, I think the last year, in terms of the lockdown and pandemic and everything that's going on with the whole society globally at large, you know, it had like a very strong mental health push and pull on whatever my existence was through the last year. And I did really feel those lines about the scars on your skin, because it meant, even though nothing was happening in that year, it meant I had to look at my shadows. It meant I had to accept whatever those shadows were and start to work with them, start to cleanse and heal. And, you know, I spent the last year really working on myself, doing a lot of inner work, and I really felt that thing about the scars as not being what's outside, but what's inside, and what we have to work with, but in a very positive way. You know, tribal scars can be positive as well as, you know, negative. It's an identification. It's something also to be proud of. It's an association. And like you say, you know, we survived this, we've survived it, and we've come stronger through it. And I really felt that. It's a strength, not a weakness. All of it, even just admitting it, is a strength, not a weakness.
I think it kind of brings up that thing, what Nina Simone said about, in fact, I've got it here. Why am I trying to remember it off the top of my head? I'm not that good a presenter. Nina Simone said, 4 women came to me after conversations I had with other Black women. It seemed we were all suffering from self-hatred. We hated our complexions, our hair, our bodies. I realized we had been brainwashed into feeling this way about ourselves by some Black men and many white people. I tried to speak to this in the song. And you know what? Some Black radio stations wouldn't play it. It's true what they say. The truth hurts. I love how, well, not love, but it shows you how much of a strong sentiment it is that you all created. Oh, sorry. I have done this before, trust me. That you all had these conversations and this piece was made, and that's exactly how Nina Simone made this piece.
I think these conversations have been happening even before this piece came together, really. And again, going back to those sort of what we were talking about before, with the idea of what happened before the bitterness, or having time to do inner work, because with what's happened in the sort of past 12 months, things stopped. And then that means that you have, well, some people have reflection time, even if it's enforced reflection time that you don't actually want. And there's a couple of things. The first one is, like, it took me a long time for me in my personal journey to be comfortable calling myself Black. I always called myself mixed race. I grew up in a very white community, but part of that really is, like, I didn't feel like my physical form could take on the weight of Black history. I was like, this is so huge. Like, how can I personally, like, feel the pain of, like, all of slavery, or acknowledge the deaths of police brutality? Like, how can I contain that within myself and still keep going, survive this? And it was really just the communities coming together and people raising their voices and speaking and realizing the magic and the reverence within these communities as well. It's not just pain, it's not just suffering, and really trying to move away from that idea. I was ill when I was 16 and I was in hospital, and lots of people brought me books, very well-meaning, but all of them were about Black subjugation. And after that, I was like, surely there's some black people out there having a good time. Like, is nobody just like, I don't know, like dancing, making love, having a great conversation, you know, like hugging each other, talking about stuff. So that's really when I sort of started that journey of like, you know, finding the sort of richness and the goodness and like black sensuality and love and things like that as well. So yeah.
That's a really important point, and I think that's something that came up over the past 12 months, especially with the program Small Acts, in terms of just black joy, just like black people, living like
Black
normal
joy.
people, having some fun. Like the episode I loved was Silly Games, because all the way through it, I was waiting for something bad to happen,
And nothing bad
but nothing
really
happened,
did.
and it was like a not happy ending. You're like, oh yeah.
That's
Like,
allowed. Oh my God.
We do have good days.
I think talking about it is really important. You, over the past 12 months, have done the race report. What is it called? The race?
The race exchange.
The race exchange. That's it. Tell us a bit about that.
I took it upon myself, probably through part of this kind of like self-reflection and you know, had time to really assert what I'd been like suppressing for a lot of years of my blackness and my worries with blackness and my internalized racism and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, suddenly I was confident enough to be like, I can talk about this. That's fine. Actually, let's talk about it and let's help other people talk about it. And that was kind of the idea behind it. And I tried to use like workshop facilitation skills to orchestrate a really well thought out conversation under, you know, the pressure and the term, you know, of race relations, and racism is obviously quite big, but we've got quite a lot of people, you know, over 6 people like having conversations with, and I don't know, all in like different groups, like not like big groups, but small groups and stuff. And yeah, it was really cathartic for me, but I felt like there was a moment where I was just like, it just clicked and I was like, I need to do something about this. And that was my one way of trying to and starting to step into talking about race and activism and things like that.
I really enjoyed the race exchange. It was really good. I want to say as well, like, because a lot of stuff happened digitally over the past 12 months.
Oh, good Lord.
But this has been like, hi, we're in a room together. And you all got to perform. How has that been, doing like a non-digital performance?
Yeah, interesting, and especially because it was partly digital and partly not. So it was like somewhere halfway in between, which was quite a new experience. But it's really nice to just be in a room with people.
And being in a room with live musicians. When I walked in for my first rehearsal, so I'd been choreographing separately with a recorded track, and I walk into the studio and the musicians are already playing, and I'm like, whoa, live music, like, woo, like it sounds so different, like it interacts with like my whole body. It like goes in your ears and then it moves around, like, and maybe that's me as a dancer, that's how I interpret sound, but okay, it looks like that's the thing. Like, I was like, and I just had to like stand, and I remember I rang my friend, I was like, I was like standing in the wings of a theatre, and like I could hear this live music, and it really, really just like enlivened me in a way that I feel like I must have been stagnant without even knowing that was something that was like important for my well-being or for our general well-being, you know. That music is a gift. It's still a gift. It's great.
Totally. It was interesting as well because I'm not a performer like all of you.
See, I've seen you DJ.
I think we all disagree with that.
Not really like behind the mic, or I've never actually performed in a really like in such a deep or profound space. You know, behind the decks, it's like it's deep, but you know, it's nothing like that. You know, it's absolutely
you're
nothing
protected,
like
aren't
that.
you, behind your decks in a way?
Yeah, but that was exposed. That was very vulnerable, and it's something I've never done before. So, you know, there's also that fear of being like discovered to be actually not really very good at it. So it's just like all those fears came into the middle, and then when I stood in the middle of the octet, that sensation of the music moving through, I started down on the ground, and that bounce was in time to the way the strings were playing and everything. It was just like the music was passing through like that chakra snake, 2 sides, energy freed all the way up. It was beautiful, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
After so long performing in one set, in one kind of way, it must have been a complete
Wow.
to find your art in a completely different form.
Yeah.
Will it be something you're going to do again?
I'd love to do something like that again.
Let's
Yeah.
collaborate.
Yeah.
For Women, the sequel.
I tell you what was interesting as well in watching all the 4 films were the similarities, the push and pull, the tension and release in all of the performances from Yemi's start, which was so beautiful. So beautiful. And then it was like passing the baton through. And in all of those experiences, there was similarities. In all of them, there was just that. It was gorgeous.
I loved Shirley's cheeky smile at the end of yours. When you put your head down and just started that personal laugh, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was a really special moment.
Come on over.
I think it was just at that moment, I was just amazed by the actual musicians who were not actually here. They should actually be with us. There was just something. And someone had said to me, oh, I like the rapper. And I went, I don't rap. But just to be in that space with live people. I mean, even tonight, I was in hospital this morning and I was like, I've got to just come and just be in the space with people who are living and I'm not seeing them through a screen.
Yeah.
But going back to the final woman, Peaches, that River Me came from that music. You know, listening to, it's called, I think the piece is called Clap Your Hands, and it's actually a tribute to Rosa Parks. So for me, just being a part of that struggle that is about standing and overcoming, but loving and loving and loving. And I don't know where River Me came from, and you can have that anytime. But River Me. But it was about knowing what love can do and how it can change our lives and make us just better people in a time when things are so dark and desperate. And I'm not a rapper. And what I do, there was a young man that I've worked with a long time. I'm just going to call him Owen. I'm not doing any of these pseudonyms and that goes with rappers. He can introduce himself as a homo sapien or whatever it is that he's called. But he's a rapper, and I work with him as a poet. And I just say, your poetry is beautiful, just slow it down so an old lady can hear it. But I just thought the singing, the poetry, the dancing really kind of united all of the women and all of the characters. And I felt that it was beautiful. And I'm going to shut up again.
I think there's a beautiful place to kind of close the discussion though as well. Like love is definitely what we should all be focusing on, and it can change so much. And after the year we've had, it's definitely needed so much in the world. I want to thank you all for coming this evening. Shirley. River Me. River, you better, girl. River, you better. Thank you so much. Please can I get a round of applause for our 4 women performers this evening. Absolutely fantastic. Now, if you like that, the Untold Orchestra, well, they are busy bees coming up at Escape to Freight Island over the next couple of months. There's quite a few icon shows, but I would like to shout out the Stevie Wonder Songs in the Keys of Life, the whole album, 16th and 17th of July at Niamos. You can get onto the Untold Orchestra website or Facebook, or even check them out on Instagram. They're all over the show to get more details on that. Also, there's going to be some productions here at the Yard, which is just off Cheetah Mill Road in North Manchester, and also at Niamos, which the community can get involved in. And again, if you follow them on any of the social media that they have, that's everything, I'm not going to say it again, then you can find out how to get involved with that. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Huge, massive love and respect to the Untold Orchestra and for all the performers and players. And to you out there, stay safe and love each other.